So, brief introduction. My name is Victoria Fabumi, as he said. I'm a principal at Atlantica. I've been investing in startup for over 6 years. And before transitioning to tech, I used to be in investment banking with a focus on financial services, agriculture, and FMCG. With me on the panel today, I have Akwa from Paystack. Is he here? I have Ibom Kennedy from Zola Electric. Is she here? I have Akwa, who is head of investment at Launch Africa, and Blessing Abeng, branding and communications expert. Please give them a round of applause. I hope everyone can hear me. I've been told that I speak in soft tones, as per money woman that I am.
Yes.
So feel free to raise your hand in the back if you can't hear us.
Ladies, please clap for your mates.
So, thank you, everyone. I'll just set background, provide a bit of context, and we'll jump into this. Everyone who has come to speak today has talked about the immense opportunity that exists on the continent and the role that innovation is playing, but there's also a critical role that funders are playing in catalyzing innovation. Without the funding coming into the continent or the funding that currently exists, a lot of work that has been done today would not have been done. So, ladies first. I'll start with you, Blessing. I wanted to know what your thoughts are on what's been happening in terms of the funding landscape. We all talk about funding increasing, but we know that 2023 has pretty been difficult. If you're a startup funder, you will know that. Funding has reduced slightly. We had 5.2 billion last year, full year, but right now we're tracking 2.5 billion. What's your general thought around the landscape as it is?
Let's see. All right. I think that it hasn't reduced slightly. It has reduced a lot. Of course, pre-COVID, I want to really, I wish the Paystack person was here because we need to give them a round of applause. Shola and Ezra getting acquired.
Let's give them a round of applause regardless.
Yeah. Paystack getting acquired by Stripe presented a big opportunity for Africa, and everyone started to look at us in a very different light, with new eyes. I remember back then when Uwem and I used to run Startup Grind, and we would go to Startup Grind in Lagos. People were struggling to raise $20,000 at the time. It was really difficult. And when you would even ask for money, a lot of investors would ask for 50% of your business. There was so much that wasn't going in our favor. We used to beg to get $20,000. But now we're seeing African startups, Nigerian startups raise as much as $1 million for their businesses, to run their businesses. And Paystack played a pivotal role in sort of creating that opening for us. And every single tech business that has thrived, Money Points, Flutterwave, all of those big businesses, they've created this opportunity for the African landscape to be seen as a world power in some way. Of course, after COVID happened, there was sort of like a reset because people started to overvalue their business. People got scared after investing and seeing their money tank. There was a tech boom during COVID. However, that went away. We had the FTX drama where investors kept their money or preserved their assets in FTX, and there were just all these different tiny things. The war also happened. So there were just all these different tiny things happening that probably had nothing to do with each other, but they were driving fear. And a lot of investment decisions are often driven by fear and greed. And so I'm sure investors took a step back. Even I used to do, some angel investments, but you would take a step back and reevaluate to ask, what is it that your business really does? How are you really going to make money? How are we sure that you're not taking my money and blowing it up on hiring the biggest? Some people get money, get investment, and the next thing they're thinking is, I want to hire somebody from Google. I want to hire somebody, huge that you can't probably afford. So all of that now has helped startups sort of go back to the drawing board and ask themselves, how is it that we can keep this business sustainable? How can we ensure that we're revenue driven? How can we bootstrap far enough before we start asking for investments? And just for context, I used to be the co-founder of Disha, which eventually got acquired by Flutterwave. And so I know what it was like raising money, or bootstrapping rather, to a certain degree, and then being acquired eventually. It's different now in the landscape, but I still think that this presents an opportunity that if you have a product that works, if you can figure out your product market fit, if you can say, this is the product that I am creating, but this is the market for it. And what I really mean by that is, I know I'm talking long, but just to really get to it, right? A lot of times we create products and we imagine that the people who want to use it, we know them 100%. We don't. We need to go out there and put those products in their hands and see how they interact with it, see how they use it. Who has more than 100 followers here in the room? 100 followers on Instagram. I'll connect it, I promise. How many people have more than 100 followers on Instagram or Twitter? How many of those people who have hands, how many of you sell something, maybe a product or service, or you're an employee, right? Do those 100 people pay you? No? Or is there anyone that all 100 people pay them? Or maybe if you have 1,000, do all 1,000 people pay you? A lot of times that is the difference between your audience and your customers. So yes, your audience are the people who need what it is that you're offering, but your customers are the people who, yes, they need what it is that you're offering, but are willing and able to pay for it. And we get sentimental sometimes because we think people need it. They're not willing or able. Like, it's not one or the other, it has to be both. I always give the example that Dangote can afford to pay for sachet water, but do you really see Dangote buying sachet water? I mean, like pure water. Do you see? Like he's thirsty and he just buys pure water just like that. I don't see it. One other thing I would have yesterday I was flying to Uyo and we got here and we hovered for a bit and we went back to Lagos. Yes, because bad weather, right? I could have probably come to Uyo earlier if I had a private jet. Do you know? Like, I wouldn't have had to work with commercial flights. I could have come way earlier or later, or anytime I want, really, or this morning. But I don't have a private jet, so I had to work with the plans that the commercial flights have. So I saved private jet pictures, just for context, because I live in Lagos, I saved private jet pictures. I designed the interior of how I want my private jet to look, which means that I am willing to buy a private jet. But I don't think at this time that is the best way to spend my money, so therefore I'm not able. So if a private jet company is creating content for me right now, at this time, because I'm the one saving and liking their posts, they've misroad. Do you get what I mean? And so at the end of the day, you need the perfect combination between need, willingness, and ability to pay to officially know who your customer is. So as you build the product that you build, really think through, who is my customer? What is it that they really need? How can I meet them at the point of their need? And you would be closer to convincing an investor to give you money.
So, thank you for going there. Because I wanted Uwem to actually double-click on that. So just drill down. Right now, you're investing with Launch. If you were to, the whole idea of this is because we want to start to catalyze the local ecosystem. Mm-hmm. We want to start deploying. We want to get a lot more investors to come, and we want to start deploying monies to startups coming out of Uyo. What are the few things you want to see startup founders do so that they can get capital from Launch Africa, for example?
Well, I think we should close shop. She actually said everything that we need to, need to say today. Fundamentally, I think that founders tend to build companies based on how they see the vision of the company play out, right? So you have a pain point. You grew up in, say, X place, and you had problems accessing clean water, and you said, I'm going to build a clean water company. But you forget that you're not just building the business for yourself, you're building it for a community of people that are supposed to be willing to pay for your product or service. And as an investor over the last 10 years, having deployed over $100 million across Africa, I see that as one fundamental problem where founders are just focused on the problem they've identified, but forgetting that you need willing customers to actually pay for that product or service. And then secondly, everybody wants the title of CEO, founder. Do you know how hard that is in reality, right? Leading people is hard. It's hard work. And what we see in the ecosystem generally is people don't actually have that leadership skill. It's more than just slapping the title on and saying you're a CEO. It's about leadership. Do you have a plan for the organization? Do you actually have an organizational structure? Are you thinking of corporate governance at the very beginning? I know that's a big word for some people, but are you putting the right things in place at the beginning? Because as you grow, the organization becomes more complex to manage. And that's why you see so many founders either just micromanaging everybody and the organization eventually failing, or just not leading the company effectively so that the company grows and scales as the founder initially thought it would. And then thirdly, just going back to the fundamentals, knowing your numbers, right? If I'm talking to you as a founder and you're telling me I signed up 500 people, that's vanity metrics. I don't care about that. Whether you signed up, whether I have 10,000 people in your mailing list or on your Instagram, like Blessing mentioned, you have 1,000 followers, that doesn't add anything to me or your business. But if you're telling me that X number of people paid this month, Y number of people paid last month, and that's a 10% month-on-month growth, and you estimate that in the next 3 months, you'll be able to double or triple that number, then I'm listening to you. You're speaking the language that investors want to hear. So you have to track the right metrics. What represents growth to you? Is it number of paying customers? Is it average time that they spend on your app? Is it the number of partners that you've signed over time? Is it even the number of outlets or stores that you're able to reach per time? You need to actually identify the most important metrics for growth for your business and begin to track that and document that. And then finally, going back to the leadership point I mentioned, one of the biggest problems we found out in our ecosystem is that they try to fill their team with people that look, sound, and behave like them. So instead of filling your team with people that plug the gaps that you don't have, you're trying to replicate yourself across the company. And I tell you that that's an ingredient for failure. You can't succeed that way. Your goal should be to find people with complementary skills that help you advance and grow your business than to replace yourself, or employ people with your likeness. So say, for example, you like to work 24 hours a day, you don't like to rest. You're people like that, right? And you think that recruiting the same type of people around the organization would help you grow faster and succeed. For some people, it might work. But majority of people, it's not going to work. You would actually fail. So understanding the gaps that you have in organization or the gaps that you have as a founder, and then identifying people that would help you plug it is very, very, very important. And lastly, I was with a friend earlier at the back, and we talked about hiring and how early stage founders think that they can hire the best talent, right? So we have Akwa Ibom generally has one of the best dev communities that I've come across in the entire Nigeria. And clap, celebrate yourself. And what I find out that is, when I meet these dev talents, all skilled, all worked on projects, what they tell me is, I'm still looking for jobs, or I'm looking for freelance projects. Do you have anybody that you can refer to me? So you have these people that have so much skills, but they can't effectively use their skills. And then you meet early stage founders or companies, and you tell them, hey, I have this talent that could intern or work for you. And they say, no, it's too early stage. They want Anyedi. They can pay for him. And unfortunately, that's the case. People are not willing to take chance on younger people or the junior talent. And unfortunately, that doesn't help the ecosystem, because at the very beginning, you're supposed to be saving money as a founder So you're supposed to be finding the talents you can afford that can obviously do the work and that will grow with the organization. And this is an appeal to everybody that is building, that you need to remember that while you have to employ the best hands, also look at the talents that are available around you. Because those talents, as long as they are honest, as long as they have integrity, as long as they have the skills, they would actually help your company grow. And trust me, when you build a company with everybody tapped into the vision and you all grow together, you're going to have an amazing culture in that company. Paystack is one company that I love the culture, and it's reflective of what I just said. Everybody started pretty early, worked together, built a good company culture, and now they're one of the biggest companies in Africa.
Thank you for that one. Yeah, because I was just going to come to you. I was going to pick that and come to you. But I'll paint this picture because I want to talk about Disha. From everything he said, especially on the talent side, how did you take that on board and grow out the team to the extent that Flutterwave was able to say, this company is interesting, it's aligned with what we want to do, would acquire them?
Oh, thank you. That really directly even ties to what it was that I was about to say, because a lot of times you're in idea stage, you have this brilliant idea, it's stuck in your head. I was giving a TEDx talk recently, and I asked people, if they ask you, where do you think planes, came from, who founded the planes, or who, I've been talking about flying a lot. Yeah, but
you want to be a pilot?
I know, right? But who founded planes? People would often refer to the Wright brothers. But for 3,000 years, different sets of people were coming up with research ideas, different things that contributed to what the Wright brothers eventually built on. My point is, you're not going to get to where you want to be immediately. And if you have an idea, the idea is just an idea. It's not tangible. It's not something we can see, hold, touch. However, how many of us know about matter? Anything that has space, has weight or mass and occupies space. We know that, right? I always talk about ideas as matter because, yes, you know that it exists in 3 states: solid, liquid, gas. Oh, wow, smart people in the room. Yes, my science worked out somehow. But yes, solid, liquid, and gas. When I think of ideas as gas, right? It exists, it's there, we can feel the presence somehow, but we can't see, feel, or touch it. However, once you turn that idea into something, maybe you write an article about it, or research, or you do something with that idea, you experiment with it, you bring something to the table, it becomes like liquid. You can't hold it, you can see it, it can pass through you and go to other people. However, when you make it into a product or a service, it becomes something that is tangible, that people can feel, experience, and all of that. Why I'm talking about this is because a lot of times investors want to see traction. They want to see that you've done something. They don't only want to hear about your ideas. We fall into this trap where by talking about our ideas, we feel like we've done something. It's like, oh, I have this idea where we are doing da-da-da-da-da-da. But you've not actually done anything with this idea that it is that you have. Don't put too much pressure on yourself. Create an MVP. And what an MVP means is a minimum viable product. Meaning, what is the smallest version of this idea that you can put into the world for 10 people to experience? Sometimes that minimum viable idea is a WhatsApp group. A WhatsApp group of the type of people that it is you want to target to do the thing that you want them to do. Once you have that WhatsApp group, that small space, that small version of it, you can then say, we created this is how people reacted to what we created. And then you can take that and build on top of it. You can use that to validate your idea. I always say that I would always put progress over perfection. It's really difficult when you think of moving from 0 to 100, but you can move from 0 to 0.1. Back to what we did at Disha while we were building our team and trying to get the investors' attention or the attention of people who eventually acquired us. We built something. It wasn't the perfect version, but it was something. And I'm so lucky to have the team that I had. If you want excellent talent and you have them as friends, you can pitch the idea first to them. And if it's something that they resonate with, of course, they might agree to be co-founders and 3 of you, 2 of you, 4 of you can come together and say, let's build this thing together. However, one of the conversations I've had in the past with some of my friends who are co-founders is you need to agree on what your structure is. Like, what is it that you agree on? 2 of my friends are co-founders of one of the big tech companies in Africa, and what they would always say is, at the end of the day, we would put whatever personal pain we have aside and focus on what is beneficial towards the company. Yes, we put ego aside. It's not about how this person talked to me or whatever. It's about how do we see this company in 5 years' time, 10 years' time, and how is it going to benefit the company? So just knowing that your personalities might clash, different things might come up, but if you come back to the base and you ask yourself, how does this add value to the company? That forms a structure for how they relate with each other. So the same thing can apply to you when you are coming together with your friends to decide to to be a founder of a company. Also think through like your value system. Do you agree on values? Things like that. Because talents are expensive. However, if people come together and say you want to be co-founders, you can find core things, operating systems, or ways that you would operate, tiebreakers for decisions, clarity on roles for everybody. So you can't pay each other, but at least you know that you will reap the benefits eventually if the business succeeds. For hiring, we tried to hire people that we saw had potential. They weren't the bestest talent, but we were willing to pay with time, in the sense that we were going to dedicate time. So I was in charge of marketing, we had somebody who was in charge of design, and we had somebody who was super excellent at dev. And so that was like a super team, right? So when it came to anything comms, branding, marketing, we will all agree on what it was that we wanted to communicate, but I was responsible for ensuring the development of people within that particular part of the team. And so we didn't hire, superstars, but then we are willing to build them to become superstars. A lot of those people now are working in really top organizations, and it's a gift to be able to say these people went through us and now see the amazing things that they're up to. So be open to that. Be open to building with people. You don't and it comes back to progress over perfection. Think about how you can move from 0 to 0.1. Commit to daily progress. Ask yourself, what is growth, like what is success for us today? What is it that we have right now, and what can we do with what we have right now to get us to where it is that we want to be? I think those are some things that have helped us. Also recognizing when you can freelance, or when you can hire a freelancer to do like a small task, or outsource something. That's also a very cheap way or affordable way rather, to get things done. Don't sacrifice cheap. Like, don't buy cheap because you're trying to save money. It might cost you in the long run. However, you can pick something that is affordable and find interesting ways to navigate that. And finally, it's okay to outsource to tech. There is a lot that tech can do for you. You don't have to hire people in the early stage to do everything. There are things that tech can do for you. I remember back then we would jump on meetings. There was fireflies.ai. There were a bunch of platforms that would record, so we didn't necessarily need to hire a secretary. Things like that. So figure out this thing that I want to do. Is there a tech tool, app, something that can do it for me? Is it free? Is it affordable? Is it cheaper than paying somebody to do it? And how can we automate and create systems that would make it possible for it to scale or grow in the direction that we want it to grow? Yeah. So those were some things that really helped us.
Can I just quickly add a point on tech and automation? Tech basically optimizes or makes your manual processes more efficient. But if your manual processes don't work, then tech is going to make it rubbish. So you have to ensure that your manual processes work and make sense first before you then layer on technology, because that's very, very important. When I talk to founders, the next thing they say they do tech. And then I try to drill down and find out, okay, under the hood, what are you actually doing? And then I realize that it doesn't even make sense at all. So make sure whatever you're using tech to optimize actually works, and works well for the customer, and works well for the business long term.
Thank you. So I was just going to do a quick recap on what she said, because I know that quite a number of people have aspirations to start something that is tech-driven or tech-enabled. If you listen to both of them, team plays a critical role in whatever you're building. So for me, that's the learning. So you should be lean, nimble, leverage tech where you can. and ensure that at the end of the day, you're not focusing on perfection, you're focusing on progress, right?
Yeah.
I have one question, and I think, thankfully, we have somebody from NIDA that is here, so he can take our thoughts back to Abuja as it's going. What do you think is the role of government in funding innovation?
I don't think I will say anything new here that anybody hasn't said already. I think that we cannot out-innovate bad governance and bad policies. I mean, we can try, but
Government is not necessarily to make money, it's to create enabling environments and systems, right? And so, yeah, if they can just create the space, like people need power, we need good roads, and whenever you go to spaces that have even just power and good roads, so much is working. It's easier for trade to happen. It's easier for so much to happen. If you're thinking about like I think that we're all also responsible in one way or the other, where we can, hold our government accountable. We can applaud them when they do right, and then, demand for what it is that we think we want. But we also need to take up roles and not shy away from government, because we all can be government, and it doesn't have to be one person's responsibility. So if you feel like there's something that you can add, if there's information you can use and share within your communities that you exist in, if there are things that you think could be better and you can suggest, I think all of those things are ways that we can support the government and help the government support us back.
Okay, so again, every time we talk about government and their role in innovation, we think about them from an enabling environment perspective.
Yeah.
I think that they can do more. And I say that because over the years of research, I've seen in Asia, I've seen even in the US, at the early stage of technology, government actually allocated funding to ensuring that technology grew. So it wasn't private sector that started it. Somebody flipped it, and then private sector came in, and there was a catalyzing.
But in the case of Nigeria, there has been allocation for that. Over the years, all the subsequent governments has actually put so much money in innovation, in quotes. The problem is implementation. Where is that money going into, and is it getting to the people that it's meant to get to? We've had the UWINs and all the UUUs. We've had so many R&D programs. The problem is the money is not getting to the right people, and we're not tracking and measuring the impact over time too. Because what you don't track or what you don't measure never grows. If we're not tracking implementation, we're not seeing the results and constantly tweaking to ensure that it works, then we're not going to go far. So again, like I said, all these things already exist in Nigeria. We just need to start holding people accountable.
Noted. So we'll start holding our government accountable for every funding that is channeled towards innovation. Yeah. So final words, where do you foresee the landscape in the next 5 to 10 years?
It's very exciting. Again, as an Akwa Ibomite and meeting all the lovely Akwa Ibom people that I've seen in the last couple of days, I'd say that Akwa Ibom still stands as one of the states that can advance the nation in terms of technology. We have a huge deaf community, and that's actually one of the foundations for technology in any ecosystem. What we need, again, government. We have good roads here, but we need power. We need, I need to mention internet. Without good internet, without good housing, so if we can put all those things together in the state, I promise you that we're going to have more people move back to Akwa Ibom State. I will personally move back to Akwa Ibom State to continue working from here.
Thank you. Any thoughts, Blessing?
Okay, I think my final words would just be to founders and people who are looking to start. I think it can be hectic sort of thinking about, oh, I want to have 1 million customers, I want to have 1,000 customers. So one of the first things I would say is start with one. Imagine one person who looks like the person that has the problem that you want to solve, and meet them at the point of their need. Ask yourself, who is this one person? The example I like to give is what I call the shark story. And I say, if we all here decided that we were going to go fishing, and we decided that we wanted to fish for a shark, where are we going to go? Like, what water body do you think we're going to go? Please shout back the answers to me. We're going fishing for a shark. Where are we going? Where? Ocean, seas. Okay, great. I don't hear anybody saying river. Why are we not going to the river? Exactly, sharks don't live there. And so, first, we won't go to the river to go and look for a shark. But second, if we were looking for a bait to attract this fish while we're fishing, we're not going to use a worm either. What are we going to use? What? We don't know what we would fish with?
A bigger fish.
Yeah, bigger fish, blooded animal, things like that, of course, because sharks don't eat worms. And if you take a worm fishing for a shark, you're going to catch everything else but a shark. My point is, if you don't know your target audience, you're not going to know where to go to look for them. Imagine your target audience as a shark. Who is that person? Where are they right now? Where do they stay? What is it that they're interested in? What is it that they like? And then ask yourself, how can I attract their attention? I try to make these things as simple as possible because truly, it's actually not that hard. I don't have to say buzzwords for it to sound deep. It's actually not that hard. If you know who it is that you're targeting, it is easier to imagine them and it's easier to meet them at the point of their need. So know your customers, have conversations with them, do your research. Don't go into investor conversations saying, I'm targeting 200 million people in Nigeria. It's not true. No investor would give you money because it means you haven't done your research. Know who it is you're targeting, create an MVP, build a community so you can serve the people that it is that you want to reach out to. It's earned media. It's the best type of media that exists. They would become advocates. The reason why Flutterwave eventually acquired our business wasn't because of something that we personally just did. In addition to the products being good, it was our community that advocated for us and got the attention of Flutterwave for the business to thrive. So yes, you can do it. I absolutely believe that great startups are going to come out of Akwa Ibom, and I'm 100% rooting for you if you're a founder out there.
Woo! Rooting for you. Thank you.
All right, thank you very much. Can you just stand for a photograph? Oga, you be in the middle. Chairman that is only coming to Akwa Ibom when the land is green.